Well, thank you for doing this, Jensen Ackles.
Yeah.
So let us go back in the Wayback Machine. One of the reasons that I was kind of curious in having a conversation with you, besides the fact that you are super, super smart, incredibly kind, generous, nice.
Is this on my bio sheet?
Yeah.
Okay.
And also, from what I understand, an extremely good golfer. There were many reasons that we wanted to discuss things. But one of the things, cheers, by the way.
Cheers.
We should officially do that. You and I have something sort of in common. Many things, I think, actually, as we unwind and unspool this. You don't have the middle-aged paunch yet, but you'll get there.
I'm working with it.
So soap operas. Yeah.
The way back machine.
Yeah. So I have this theory that, and it's kind of like, I call it point of entry.
Okay.
So how you, and I just use this particularly for acting, but like how you start in this job. Because, all right, so you've done 500 episodes of television. Like how many hundreds of episodes?
Maybe close to there.
And you probably did 500 episodes of Days of Our Lives.
Oh gosh, I don't know. I did 3 years.
3 years.
So if you average what, 3 to 4 episodes a week for 48 weeks a year, do the math.
Yeah, 50 times 4 would be 200.
Great.
For 3 years would be 600. Let's peel 100 off and call it 500.
We'll be conservative.
So let's say 1,000 episodes of television. So in that, and that, once you start talking about, like to become an expert in something, you have to have 10,000 hours of right. I think we have both shared
the Malcolm McDowell theory on that.
Yes. McDowell or Gladwell?
Gladwell.
Oh,
not
but maybe McDowell.
Maybe it is Malcolm McDowell.
Yeah, it could be A Clockwork Orange. So if your point of entry into the game is soap operas and you're making a whole episode every day, you're working with guest actors and series regulars, you're working with people who are coming into the business, young people like yourself. How old were you when you started?
19 when I got the gig.
And then you're working with people who are sort of trafficking. In New York, there were a lot of theater people that would be doing it. And then, like when I started loving the soap opera I did, Celeste Holm kept her Academy Award in her dressing room. She was on the last part of her career, which was really, she could walk to work. It was very comfortable. Wesley Addy, her husband, played her husband on the show.
Why would you keep that in your dressing room?
To remind young actors who
I was going to say, as a reminder, not to her.
No, it's
but it was a reminder to other people.
Yeah, wise up. Yes.
Good conversation piece.
So you kind of, when you start on a soap, you see the beginning and the middle and the end, you see the arc, but you also do dry blocking rehearsal, then you do the camera blocking, then you go through hair and makeup, then you do a dress rehearsal, then you shoot proper. Were they still doing that in the 90s? Or had they gone to block shooting?
This was the age of preset marks and a night crew that would come in and light for the mark. So you would show up and your tape's already on the floor.
Oh, yours was professional.
There was no let's vibe this out and feel what feels right. And I don't think I would cross to the sofa on this line because you have very little wiggle room. It was okay. If you don't want to cross the sofa on that line, then you're going to need to do it on the next line.
Okay.
So because I need you over there.
Were there tally lights on top of the camera? Okay.
No. There weren't lights on the camera, but you had the three, the three movable, almost like newsroom cameras.
Yeah, but they didn't have lights on them?
They didn't have lights on them.
Okay, so you are just young enough. You're 10 years younger than me. So in that 10 years, so when I started doing soaps, it was still the way they did them in like the movie Tootsie, right? Where if you and I are doing a scene and we're going to discover that not only are we brothers and have the same mother, but we were also both married to her, or whatever the soap opera thing was.
Yeah.
So what would happen is I would say, Thorn, you have to understand.
Thorn.
And
did you just pull that? Because it's such a good soap
and I would be Rockster or something.
Yeah.
We had a trucker on our show. And I was Cooper.
Ah, yeah.
What were
Okay.
you?
Eric.
Eric? Oh, that's
Eric.
good. That's very strong.
Well, the name had already been established. I came in to play the
So
grown
you
up.
were the grown up
Yeah,
Eric.
yeah, yeah.
So the thing is that if we're doing a scene, I would have to wait for the red light on my close-up camera to go on before I reacted.
Oh, yes, we had those lights.
Yeah, tally lights. Yeah.
I thought you were referring to.
Oh no,
I should have asked what tally light. You were
like these
light,
kind of
yeah,
lights.
like donut lights and stuff like that.
Right.
No, we did not have any. We had the this camera is now the camera we're on.
So you learned really acting.
Yeah.
In a kind of like they're shooting at your feet saying, dance, make me laugh.
Yep.
There's not a lot of like, so your motivation in this scene, Johnson.
Oh, is to get from that mark to that mark.
And then to
the end
the accountant for the $600 they're going to pay you.
That's it.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, it was I did not receive any formal acting training. So I went out to LA right out of high school. So I had a couple of high school productions under my belt, and I did drama class as an art elective, but it wasn't something that I was heavily pursuing.
And where was this?
This would have been in North Dallas, Texas.
So did you know someone in Hollywood and you're like, oh, I'll give them a call when I get there?
No, I had
all your connections.
I had run there was it's a long story, but a talent manager from the same area who had moved out to LA and was a talent manager out there, had come back. His mother still lived in the area in Dallas, and so he would come back to visit. And he would put on these like talent search type of things. And in doing so, he would go to several of the high school productions to seek out if there's if there's a new crop of
and your parents, actors. Of course, are a little worried that this guy might have other.
Yeah, I mean, when he said, hey,
you're a good-looking boy, Jensen.
I think you ought to come out to Hollywood and give it a go. I said, well, there's my father. You can go talk to him. And,
and he was like shining up the pistol,
the brass knuckles.
Right. And he's like, this is a beauty here in North Texas. You know how we deal with the funny people.
That's right.
Right. You funny Hollywood types.
And he said, I guess the right things that made my parents consider this as a possibility. And then they brought it to me and they said, is this something you would be interested in? And I was like, yeah.
At that age, for you,
I'm 18. Like I didn't know. I was going to college.
What
with
about
my buddies.
Maybe sports?
Yeah, I play. That's largely where my focus was.
Baseball.
From early on to through my teenage years was sports. I played a variety of them, mostly baseball in high school. So the acting thing was not something that was it was not something my peers were into. So it largely wasn't something I was into.
What positions in baseball?
I mean, for varsity, I was playing third and left field.
So you were in the hot corner.
But I was playing,
So why? What's interesting?
We do summer ball. I'd be pitching and I'd be playing first base. It was
sure. But they like a lefty on first.
So they do like a lefty on first. But there's not a lot of those.
But in that corner, third base, because you get that shot down the line.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody yanks one, a righty yanks one down the line. You've got to be. You're right there. You get some missiles.
I had a dislocated shoulder catching a line drive across the body.
And also, when you're guarding third base, you've got people come in hard to third. Second, you got your shortstop and your second baseman. You got two guys on that bat arguing. And then you got backup.
Mm-hmm.
The center fielder, left, right can sort of, if the throw is errant or whatever.
Yeah.
But third base, you're kind of on your own.
A little bit.
You got squeeze plays you got to worry about.
You work with your left fielder, and again, like it was, it was. We're playing 5A, high school football or high school baseball, which was heavy competition. There was. I often say it was like this. Just to put it in perspective, there's a pitcher that we played against. His name's Kerry Woods. Some of you may know him. He had a great career in Major League, but he was throwing like touching 90 at 18. And I don't like, right. You don't face anything like that at that age.
But this is interesting because baseball was my passion when I was a kid. So I saw 1975. You weren't born yet, but I saw Carlton Fisk and the Boston Red Sox play Johnny Bench, and I got to meet Johnny Bench later on. But the Cincinnati Reds, and the Reds beat the Red Sox in that series. But it was the one where Carlton Fisk was like waving the ball, trying to get it to stay in.
This is, I mean, people are going to probably know the story more from Good Will Hunting, but yes.
Yeah. It's and so becoming a Red Sox fan in Southern Connecticut, where I grew up, my mom's from Boston. Okay. So like park the car, as my wife said recently, there is no parking near Harvard Yard. How could you park your car there? It is almost impossible to park your car at Harvard now. But my mom grew up and I had cousins in Framingham, and my Uncle John worked at the Natick Labs making like, freeze dried things for the.
So the Red Sox were kind of a
you didn't fuck around for a half a heartbeat with your Yankees hat. You want to wear a Yankees hat anywhere on the Cape? We go to Cape Cod.
You get chirped at.
Your body would be found the next day, I'm sure, in some backwater somewhere. I mean, no, a Mets hat, people would just feel like, until 86.
I feel bad for you.
Until 86.
Yeah.
And then in 86, the Mets beat the Red Sox in the World Series forever. Then,
because it was like now the Mets and the Yankees off limits.
And it took until 2003, 4. Anyway, I went off baseball in 86 because I was in Boston when that World Series happened. I had literally people might laugh, but my heart broke in such a way that I couldn't put it back together again. It was Humpty Dumpty time for my heart. And that was it for baseball. I just stopped. Cold turkey, no more.
Really?
And I was a center fielder. What I loved about baseball, and I think it has to do with acting, is when the drama at the plate, when you're up to bat, it's you had said recently, every time you get up to that golf ball, every new shot is an opportunity for glory. Every take.
Now, I can't take credit for that. Good friend Tom Welling told me that one.
Tom Welling.
He probably stole it from somebody else, but that's okay. Tom, I'll give you credit for it.
So I think when you're playing baseball and you get up, the pitcher, the catcher, the ump, home plate, you're the interloper with your piece of wood. You come in there, or aluminum. I was part of the wooden generation.
Yep.
Can you tell? And then you got to figure out if you can place the ball. That's extra special. But most of us are just trying to make contact.
Right.
And there's just this. You have to fight your nerves when you're in the box, and that ball might come right at your head, but you cannot step in the bucket. You cannot chicken out. You're going to get hit. You're going to get hit.
Yeah.
When you're acting, okay, I'm going to fast forward 20. I'm going to go through the soap, because the soap for me was just a bout of low-grade fever, diarrhea, and like a sense of nausea.
But I think it was an essential training ground.
Right.
Kind of the going back to the conversation, I didn't have any formal training. So when I got out of high school and I moved right out to LA, and I did like one show that was, I was blind leading the blind, trying to figure out what the hell I was doing. And it was an NBC Monday night primetime half-hour sitcom.
Oh, okay. Which are sitcoms and soaps are shot in a proscenium, which is like a 3-walled set with the fourth wall being the audience and the cameras.
Correct.
And that the only difference is that a sitcom has a studio audience.
Right.
And that's particularly bad if no one laughs.
Well, yeah. It helps when you've got the applause.
Right.
Sign.
Then it's really bad if no one laughs. And
really
they've been told to laugh. They've been paid to laugh.
Well, that's when the writers' heads all go down and go,
he's not coming back.
Let's give us a minute.
Right.
We're going to fix that joke.
Yes. But, Jensen Ackles. We will have, let's not have
fired after one episode.
Jensen Ackles can go back to.
So that was like just jumping in the deep end. And that was soon as I got there, I had an audition and I got the part. And then next thing I know, I was like on the back lot of Universal going, can somebody tell me where stage 37 is? And started working, did an entire season of that,
Wow.
and then it got canceled. And
But a season network half hour,
Mhm.
that's back then, that's more money than you're going to make on a soap.
Well, it was 26 episodes for a full season, and I came in after the show had already started going. They wanted to add another character, so I came in. I think I ended up doing like 22 episodes.
That's great, though. I mean, you got that intro salary, but there's still that minimum.
They got me for a song,
of course, but there's still that minimum, and the experience you're getting, learning to fight through the fear, learning to there's that moment when you realize everyone's kind of bluffing. When you're like, wait a minute, maybe no one knows what they're doing.
It's
right.
Or somebody thinks they know what they're doing, but it's like, ooh, I wouldn't do it like that.
Right. And then okay, so before we go on to the next stage of the career, which is where you and I met, did you ever, on your soap opera, because you worked hundreds of episodes a year, did you ever show up after a particularly large night out because you were a young man, you're in Los Angeles, maybe you had a little bit of dough in your pocket? After first couple of weeks, you don't mess around. Your call time, it's sacred. Then you're like, I got this. So did you ever, do you remember that first night when you stayed out till like 2:30 and then you rolled into work the next day, half shot, still in the bag?
I was 19, 20 years old.
Right.
Like I had no problem doing that.
Right.
Like that's
but so you didn't have that moment where you walked in and were like, I should never do this again because I'm working through a hangover.
Oh no, because at that age I didn't have, what was hangover? I didn't even know what that was.
No,
I could have stayed up all night drinking and then woke up the next day and been like just chipper, just drink a coffee and
survived that.
And
so
I mean, not to say that those moments didn't come later.
But it didn't happen in the. I think I had a toxic mix.
Plus, I was scared shitless of the older guard at the in the cast.
So you leave the soap, you're going into the next patch of your career. I had two things that I wanted to talk to you about this, so I'll front load them.
Okay.
One is screen testing for TV shows and films, and how your agent wants to position you versus what you're thinking about positioning. And then the second thing, after we talked for a while about that, is was there a moment during Supernatural or another time when you were like, I know what it would take to do the feature route. I would have to stop doing all this other stuff. I probably can't have a family to initiate launch. It's like sitting on top of a Saturn V rocket. You can't also be worried about like making sure, because making a career is no easy thing. Television affords you a little bit more regularity. Trying to be a gigging movie actor back then. Anyway, a
gigging actor to any capacity.
But how did the movie TV thing look to you in 2000? It was around 2000, right?
Yeah, I got off the show in 2000 of the soap. And I mean, it's just you go out for any and everything your agent gets you in the door for. So whether it's feature, whether it's television,
you get the fax machine would chirp out your sides.
Yeah, my pager would go off and I would have to go find a payphone and call be like, where's my callback? Let's see, G4 on the Thomas Guide.
Ooh, Thomas Guide. Yes.
So it was.
You should Google that, people. Look up the Thomas Guide.
It was. It was go out for any and everything. You're competing with dozens and dozens of other people vying for the same.
And you see the usual customers.
Yeah, you would see.
You have your class, so to speak.
Yeah,
right?
I would see a lot of guys, and some have gone on to have really great success, and some never did. And it's hard to put a finger on why that is, because they were all talented. All these guys, I knew who they were. I knew their work. I would hear them reading with casting directors in the next room. Right. And I'm like, oh.
And you're like, oh, that's a funny line?
I'm like, oh,
that's a joke? I thought that was supposed to be.
Yeah. And so there were, yeah, you kind of had these familiar faces that you would go and see. So it wasn't about like, oh, I think
Was there one that you
I'm gonna lean
almost
back
got?
and wait for the movie role to come.
Was there one that you almost got that you got really close on that you didn't get at that juncture?
Yes, there was. It was of course the show never even went, but it was for a pilot, and it was to play Shelley Long's son.
Ah,
And
talk about leaving big TV show.
and a good friend of mine, Shane West, ended up getting the role.
Oh yeah.
But I remember thinking, I got this. Like it was the first time that I was overly confident about my success in getting this.
From your studio apartment in Toluca Lake or wherever.
That's exactly where it was. Sitting in my.
The funny thing is that you have the up and coming actors in Toluca Lake that are in that apartment building, and right across the street is the retirement community where all the old actors are slowly like getting their
the ones that finally gave up.
It's like, boy, soup to nuts.
Yeah, that
is it.
And I remember I got the phone call, and it was one of those waiting by the phone kind of situations where I'm like, it's going to be a good night tonight. And the phone finally rang, and
Shelley Long just didn't see it.
And somebody didn't see it.
Shane's a very talented guy.
Shane's great. And unfortunately for him and that show, it actually, the pilot got made, but it did not go to series. But
that's hard because then they hold you. So that what happens is you make the pilot, but then they have like 9 months where you can't do another TV show.
You can't do shit. But I remember I got that phone call that they had decided not to go with me, and I hung up the phone and I put my fist through the drywall.
Oh, nice.
And
this was a rental,
and this was so that
luckily
came out of my pocket.
There was no beam there was no
and I called my dad, and I was really upset, and he said, and I've kind of condensed this in my memory just to be a little bit more anecdotal, but he said something to the effect of, you can't do that. You can't. You need to go into those auditions and give your final performance. And when you walk out, what's next? If they call you back, great. You get an encore performance.
Right.
And then you walk out and that's it.
What a wise man.
And he said, because otherwise it's just he's like, your drywall is only going to stand up for so long.
That's right.
And so that's how I started approaching everything. Was I would get an audition and I'd be like, all right, this is going to be my final performance. So this is going to be the best one I have in me. And I would go in and I would literally walk out of the casting office or the meeting with the director, whatever. I would wad up my sides and I would chuck them in the trash.
So how important, when you're crafting an audition back then or even now, is your sense of humor? Because you have a really great, you don't have like a silliness to you, but you appreciate things. You have a lighthearted, light touch. You know where that kind of sense of fun is, but you don't seem like somebody who's super damaged and you're working out your damage through comedy. You're like Jim Carrey, you know what I mean? That's like, that guy's childhood is stamped all over him.
Yes.
Your sense of humor is more of like, it's a knowing wry. I mean, TV twinkle is one of the things that we used to call it, where there's a sense of playfulness and fun. And did you always have that, or was that something you cultivated through work or auditions or working with anyone? Or?
I think it was probably a collection of a variety of things. I grew up in a very laughing household. My dad's a big jokester. Don't get into a dad joke competition with him. He'll wipe the floor with you.
I watch on Instagram those 3 guys in a duck blind.
Love it.
And they seem very high to me.
Yeah. Well,
they're like,
it might be why they're laughing so hard at every one of the jokes. But
because they have like that duck call thing that they're, but it also looks like a vape pen. Like, I'm not quite sure.
It could be. It's probably both.
It's a two-hitter.
They probably mixed them up a few times.
Yeah.
No, I was raised watching a lot of Jerry Lewis. A lot of Jack Lemmon, and there's the Jerry Lewis humor, but then there's that subtle humor.
And Jack Lemmon, who famously was told by directors time and time again, can you do less? And then he would do the next take and they would say, can you do less? And then they would come back after the next take and say, can you do less? And Jacqueline would say, if I do any less, I won't be doing anything at all. And they'd say, yes. Right? Because sometimes you get these directors who are like, you're stop putting a hat on a hat and you're dressing this thing up.
Right.
But your approach, so I'll tell you, you know, that job in the 90s that got away, I had a lot of great auditions and things that I didn't get that I was able to just sort of say, oh, well, that would have been cool. But I went into Warner Brothers where I had a deal of, I think for half hour. I have no idea. But
well, that's back when half hour was king.
Right.
You know,
right.
this was
I did a show called
Seinfeld.
Jessie with Christina Applegate.
Yeah.
I was her.
I remember that.
I was her bad ex-husband. And we were on After Friends.
Yep.
And I was shooting a movie in Missouri.
Good lead in.
When it was airing. I know, right? It's like, how do you get canceled when you have 25 million viewers? Well, because Friends is your lead in. And
right.
Basically, you could run color bars.
And the retention wasn't quite there. Yeah.
But I auditioned for this thing called Kill Room.
Okay.
And it was written by George Clooney's friend, and Clooney, I think, might have been a writer on it. I knew he was producing it, and his friend was directing it. I went into Warner Brothers and I was like, oh, cool, Clooney. And he's doing ER at the time. And, you know, you see him running around the lot, but he's also at that point, Batman or whatever. Like, it's a big giant.
He was really starting to pop.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So this is like 99.
Okay.
Maybe. And I go in and it's just two of us. It's me and another guy who I don't know. And we're screen testing. Now, in the previous audition, Clooney had been in the room with the producers and read with us. And it had been maybe there were 7 or 8 of us in the hallway that day. He read with every one of those actors. I thought that was pretty incredible. But now I'm screen testing and I went in to the big Warner Brothers room and there were 20 people in there. And, you know, it's the test room. And this was, I think it was an HBO show. It was Warner Brothers for HBO. And it was Clooney. And the whole idea of the show was that you were a young actor trying to break into Hollywood. So it was kind of the Clooney story.
Okay.
And I thought it was hilariously funny. I couldn't believe that I got the callback. But then when it finally was just me and this other guy, I'm like, oh my God, I've got it. Like now it's mine because I know I have the deal at Warner Brothers. And I had that. And it's the worst mistake you can make.
Yeah.
Because it's like the Red Sox in Game 6 in 1986. It's like, oh, we got it. It's 9th inning.
Or when the Patriots had a perfect season and they went to the Super Bowl.
Oh yeah,
and thought they could just waltz their way to victory.
If there's a lesson in any of that, it's like I thought I walked out back to my car with my validated parking ticket. I drove off the lot, and I think I started celebrating directly after that. The Mexican restaurant El Coyote. I think I parked my car safely near my apartment and then walked to El Coyote so I could stumble back to my apartment. That apartment over on First and La Brea that had bars on the windows, first floor apartment.
Oof.
You know,
I know it.
It's the young actor.
Yep.
My friend John used to have
if you live in Hollywood, it's going to have bars on all over the window.
There's on the first floor. Yeah.
Yeah.
You gotta have, and my car would get towed constantly because you had to do the street cleaning.
Yeah.
So like on Tuesday at 8 a.m. or whatever, I was like, what? How do I know what day it is? I'm an actor. How do they? It's just a way for them to make money. So you are screen testing for Smallville? No, you're up in Canada. How did Dark Angel happen?
It was, I
remember you did a guest star.
I did a guest star in season 1.
Right.
Where I came on and played Ben.
Okay, Ben.
And was, Jess's brother.
Yes.
And dies at the end.
Yes, very emotional. In the GV.
In GVRD.
It's the Greater Vancouver Recreational District.
And
that's for you, Courtney.
My pants were soaking wet. The ground is always wet up there. Jess is holding me and she's crying.
It's a good scene.
It was great. And then I, as the story goes that I'm told, is over the summer they wanted to add another element to the show.
Yep.
And they wanted to bring in somebody. And, I don't know if this is true or not. It was just what I was told, is they were like, oh, we really like Jensen. It's too bad we killed him. Because he would have been great.
Clones.
And then we're like, wait, we're living in a science fiction world.
Yeah.
This is a genre show.
Yep.
Why can't he be a clone of the previous character? And that's apparently how they came up with the idea. And then I get the call, and I'm like backpacking Europe, and
oh, really?
with a buddy of mine, and his girlfriend. So I was the third wheel in a backpack trip through Europe, which there's some stories there, but we won't get into that.
Yeah, this is rated NC-17, so right. I don't know if we can do that.
Yeah.
This one, we have light pornography here, but we don't. It's not.
We'll save that one for Howard Stern, I guess.
Okay.
But I get the call, or email from my agent, and he's like, "Hey, they need you in Vancouver in end of August." And I was like,
"Oh boy,
what?"
Yeah.
And then of course I was ecstatic, because it was a regular gig.
Yeah.
For every job I got, I had probably 12 to 20 that I didn't get chosen for.
Yeah. No. They were like, Jensen Ackles.
Mm-hmm.
No. Okay.
No,
but
not him.
Shane West.
Yeah. Shane's going to be available.
So
look, Josh Duhamel. Oh.
So that to me is what's interesting about because I remember coming into this big warehouse, and you were doing a scene. Tom Wright was directing that. I think that first episode that
he directed the first one, the guest spot that I did.
Right.
Yep.
And I remember you being there and coming in, and I was 31 at that point, and I knew enough to know that being on the James Cameron TV show was a good thing.
Yeah.
But I had gone through a part of my life, which, I mean, really, I feel now after lots of therapy that I understand just how unable I was to have that removed. Props, back to one. Let's reset. I was so unable to handle like when things are going good, like when you've got that wind at in your sails.
Oh yeah,
you can handle the tough stuff.
Yeah,
but when it gets hard, and when you lose confidence, and you already have a little bit of trouble on some of the fundamentals of life, which I think I very much did have. When I started doing Dark Angel and I met the Alba, I refer to her sometimes as the Alba.
I love it.
because Jessica's like an experience. As I don't know her anymore, but at that time, meeting her was like, she's a whole thing. Like that's not a normal 19-year-old girl. That's she's
a force.
Yeah. That's like Barbara Streisand or something, right? It's like, so that's not.
She's experienced.
Yeah, that's not somebody who's like a freshman in college or something.
No.
But what I really loved about the Alba verse, it was like its own universe, was yes and no were very delineated and defined. And I lived in this super gray area where I was like, well, maybe, and I was self-tortured by like, what should I do if I could, and what would, no. With her, it was like, that's it.
Black and white.
We're doing this.
Yep.
And I remember her saying about you right away, she was like, he's a rock star.
This is my agent calling me.
Oh,
saying, stop talking about.
Oh yeah, we're done.
Alba.
Okay, well, let's press pause.
No, it's okay. Sorry, I'll put that on.
So I had that transition during Dark Angel where I was really taking a good hard look at what I was doing as an actor, what I was doing as a human being. You said you're in Europe. You get this phone call. You have to move to frickin' Vancouver, and you're living in LA. They're like, oh, well, no. Remember your life that you had, all the people and the friends, and then no. Now you're here, And
your life, I mean, effectively your life gets put on pause.
because you're deploying.
Right.
Right.
That's, I'm not to ever compare myself with what those guys do
No.
and gals, but it is a pushing pause on your current life and then going off to, fulfill a mission.
And Vancouver is an extraordinary place, as you know. And my wife, Boyana, I met in Vancouver in 2007 when I went to go see the Police reunion tour. Vancouver has figured very prominently in some of the most important moments in my life, working with James Cameron. And I want to talk about that for a second. But I just wanted to go back to once you started in season 2 as a series regular, and Kevin was starting. I mean,
Duran, yeah.
What an incredible, the dog boy. That was so hilarious. And that show sort of was trying to find its wheels, and then 9/11 happened. And here we are in a dystopian future with sector checkpoints after a terrorist attack. And that's our show, which is like kind of a bleak view of the future where America is sort of authoritarian and militarized.
I mean, very apocalyptic. Like this was kind of the start of the fascination with the apocalypse.
So I had a director, Les Landau was working as the director on the episode that we were shooting when 9/11 happened. Remember the guy whose head came off? His head was in a box.
Yeah.
He's really funny too. I wish I could remember his name. I think that was the episode we were shooting. And Les Landau came up to me on September 11th and he said, because I think I was saying like, we should go home. Why are we working? And
I had that day off. I remember
we were working
in my apartment.
Yeah. And he said, this show needs you to be a leader. And I was like, oh God. And I was like, Jessica, because, so it was interesting because she was the show.
Yeah.
She was the boss.
Yeah.
She was number one on the call sheet. She was the Dark Angel.
Yep.
And I was the guy in the wheelchair with the glasses, with the little leg things that helped me run around. And I remember so clearly, because I would watch the episodes, I would watch the rough cut, I would watch the director's cut, I would watch any cut I could watch. And I would be like, wow, because I marveled at the lightness of your presence and your touch and how smart alecky your character was. And I just thought, fuck, I made such a bad choice early on because I chose to play him like the angriest dog in the world. I don't know if you remember that cartoon, but it's I thought
you just meant like the angriest dog.
The angriest dog in the world is a 2-panel cartoon.
Okay.
The first panel is a dog straining against a leash with its mouth open and its teeth out. The sun is high in the sky and it's tied to the tree. And it's like that. And the next panel is the same exact thing, except the moon is in the sky. Just as angry. He has not changed at all. There is absolutely no, it's the angriest dog in the world.
That's funny.
And that was my thing. It was like, oh, I'm the angriest guy in the world. That'll be a great thing to play. And I remember Leslie
angry at your situation.
Yeah, angry because the world was wrong. I was a social justice
because you're like a rebel.
Eyes only. It's got the thing. I overthought it a lot. And then also I got into a relationship where I really wanted to take, I was so kind of in need of, right and wrong and black and white and getting my head together. I loved the Albaverse for that. And also she needed somebody to protect her. So I thought I could do that role. I was doing everything except the job at hand. I was kind of doing, and then I had my son, who was very small at the time, down in Los Angeles and trying to fly back and forth and be a father, which he did later on. But, that's the level of depression and unhappiness and everything that I didn't realize I was dealing with culminated in, not only did I screw all of that up, but he's having fun. that guy's having fun. And I can just tell you, and I've said this before, but when I went to do NCIS, which was March of 2003, and we finished in May of 2002.
Yeah, you
went
there right after.
It was not much later that I'm on the set of, I mean, it's 10 months later that I'm on the set of
a new show
of NCIS. And the only thing that occurred to me when I started doing Tony DiNozzo was relax, have fun. Because the thing that you would do that I watched on set was you didn't overthink it. You didn't overcook it. You weren't trying to anticipate the thing. You played, well, I don't know. What was your approach? I mean, I'm curious. That's my outside opinion.
It's kind of been the same as it always has been because I again, I don't have formal training. I don't have methods that I utilize to approach a certain character or a certain relationship. Or
you're like, I think he has scruff.
Yeah, I'm like, yeah, I think he has scruff, and he maybe talks with a deep voice.
Right.
You know, and I try to be available to what presents itself when the scene on its feet. So I'm like, keep it loose, know your lines, but if you need to adjust them,
know your lines.
Yeah, know your lines. But I also, you know what I also didn't do is I didn't rehearse my lines in the mirror to where I had them so cemented in a certain way of saying them that no matter what the other person is saying to me, mine never changes because this is how I rehearsed it. But what happens if you come in and you're like playing this side way different than I anticipated or that it was written, and I'm not reacting accordingly? So I felt like I learned my lesson about that early on. And I always thought, okay, know your lines, but be prepared to audible and move and shift and shimmy and shake on set. And that, I think, gave me like a kind of creative freedom to play.
It takes a lot of confidence to do that. You know that, right? I mean, you've got to really, because you're jumping into an open space. You're letting, okay, sarah. We'll see what happens.
Yeah.
When you prepare yourself with all the technical stuff and all the, embroider it and overthink it and get the line exactly, you're really safeguarding against any freedom and anything might happen, but you're also making it super safe. So I know that even if it's not, bonkers good. I mean, I worked with an actor once who wouldn't look me in the eye when he was talking to me. He would look like 2 inches above. So he'd be like, let me explain to you. I am looking at your forehead right now, but this is the performance I prepared 2 days ago.
Yeah, because he can't look at you because that's going to knock him off of what he, prepared in the mirror.
Right.
I never wanted to I always was more willing to risk a failed or a botched take in the hopes of a happy accident.
Okay. We did a scene that I remember incredibly well where we had to hug. We had to do a hug. We had to like hug it out. And I just remember that every take was like totally different and totally hilarious. And I remembered it when I went back to do NCIS, 10 months later or whatever. But it was like some girl in the episode had like some kind of brainwashy thing. She could control our behavior and our brains. And so you and I looked at each other and was like, hey, man. It's like, hey, dude. And it's like, how are you doing? It's like, good. How are you? Hug it out? Yeah, let's hug it out. And then we like hugged it out because she wanted to like to mend whatever that thing was between Logan and Alec. I thought that was hilarious because I remember you being like, like I could see that you were thinking, like your thought process was, this is new territory. This is kind of, I'm having different, what are my feelings right now?
These are odd. I don't know.
Are they?
I don't know how to process this necessarily.
Why am I'm thinking about sports.
Well,
what am I doing?
Screw it.
So there was that one. And then maybe the most important one for young actors, which is the amount of lines you have does not equal how important you are in the scene. And I remember we had to do a scene at a pool table, and I was upset that I don't remember exactly what I was upset at. Probably about 400 other things in my life. But I was upset that I didn't have enough dialogue to tell the story that I was worried about telling in my head. And my memory of this, which of course is 20 something years ago, is that you were like, I don't, you can say my lines. I don't like, I don't care. And I was like, why is he so relaxed? Doesn't he understand that like these
I
lines?
think I did. I was like, he can have my lines. I don't.
Yeah, yeah. And because I came in with like, this doesn't, what I didn't realize is that they had given me things to play that were stronger than lines.
That were, yes.
But I didn't, and that's something that Mark Harmon and Clint Eastwood and, Steve McQueen, there are guys, Paul Newman.
Oh, well, see, like Paul Newman's like one of my favorite actors, and like watching him in anything, but largely the movies that I always gravitated towards, the Cool Hand Luke and the Sting and Butch Cassidy, and there's so much that he says without saying anything,
Yeah,
in between the lines with facial expressions.
I know. And, he was really sure of all of his acting and everything. When you read the books about him, and I'm like, Paul Newman? Like, what a rock star that guy is. Hold on one second. This thing about not feeling that you have to be, you're not afraid of talking. But I'm actually broken, where I have a level of loquaciousness. I have a logorrhea, I think was the technical medical term.
Do they have a cream for that, or is it?
No, it's just bumps.
Okay.
I think you can get it lasered off.
Yikes.
But the idea, especially in certain television and film acting, is it's what you're thinking. And even on stage, Michael Caine has this great story where the director said, "Michael, what are you doing?" And I'm just waiting for my next line. And it's like, no, you're standing there looking incredibly comfortable. You should be thinking about all the things you want to say, but you're choosing not to say them. And then when it comes time for you to say your line, you're finally choosing to say that one. But, you can tell when an actor is just sort of like waiting
for their
cue.
The cue word.
Right.
I will now. This is,
if you see somebody doing that, oh boy, I can imagine you fuck with people.
Oh man, I'm not bad, but like if I felt like if they're friends of mine, or if they're somebody that I have a good rapport with, absolutely. If I feel like they're phoning it in, or they're just waiting on a cue line, I will 100% not change the line.
So you're talking about Jared?
No, well, Jared's actually worse than me. Like he would do it. I mean, he had other ways of going about his messing with folks, but if it was a guest star that I didn't know and was coming in and they were so over rehearsed and they were just sitting there waiting to say their line, I would at first try to give them a little talk, try to be like, hey, listen to me, because I might change the words up a little bit.
Right.
And I need you to know what I'm saying. So that
I haven't had much time with the material, and
I just got the script and makeup chair, so I don't know it. So I'm gonna make some shit up. No, but I a lot of times am thankful to the writers that I've worked with up to this point, have been very giving in allowing me to shift things around and put things into my own words or the character's words in a way that makes a little bit more sense for me. Or maybe maybe a line just felt clunky or something, so I would just shift it around. And I never got bad feedback about that, because in my heart is always wanting to make the best performance for this character and wanting the best foot to be put forward. And if the line just maybe needed a little tweak or needed a little shift here, then I was given the kind of leniency to do that for quite a long time. And I think it's because I don't have it overly cooked, like you said.
Right.
I do let it kind of,
I have this thing that I used to do. It kind of blew up on me. So I definitely haven't done it recently. I don't know. I'm starting this new show. And we're doing the NCIS.
Congratulations.
Tony and Ziva.
Yeah.
But when we were doing Dark Angel, I was still kind of very much in the, it's funny how I can, when you look back on your life, you see the arc of it and it all makes sense. But when you're in the middle of it, you're just like, what the hell is going on?
Right.
We were shooting the last episode, which was only supposed to take 8 days. I think it took 23 days.
Yeah, I remember like at one point I looked at the call sheet and it said it was supposed to take 11 days, I think, right? And at one point I looked at the call sheet and I was like, this is day 18 of 11.
Yeah. So James Cameron, who was the producer of Dark Angel, comes in and what people don't really realize is the only thing he directed between Titanic and Avatar was Dark Angel.
Was us.
Right.
We scarred him. He didn't want to work again.
We drove him.
Yeah, we drove him to retirement.
To work with animated.
Like I've never working with actors
with green
again.
people. He's like, fucking God, bring me to a planet where the. Uh-oh. What was that? Oh.
Does that happen normally?
It followed you.
It followed me.
Huh. No, but I like it. So for everyone, my garage door just opened of its own accord.
But not just opened. It opened, closed, and then fully opened.
And if we were just talking about ghosts before.
We were prior to this. Am I sitting on a remote? What?
And there are no remotes for this. And you and I were talking about ghosts. And I was like, oh, well, we don't have any ghosts here.
Is there nobody going to walk through right now?
No. The only way you can make that garage door open is the button that's on the inside right there that we're looking at. There is no remote. There is no other button.
But it went up and down like 3 times before it actually fully opened.
It was saying hello.
It was getting our attention.
Wait a minute. Were we making fun of Avatar and then that? Or did
James Cameron? I'm sorry, James.
Of course.
Sorry, Jim.
Okay. So let's just talk about the genius of Jim. Jim Cameron.
The mad genius of Jim.
The greatest director I've ever worked with.
Arguably one of the greatest people in film and show business.
Okay. It has had no effect on the door so far. Let's lather him up some more. I found Jim to not only be handsome and very strong,
striking,
but his bravery, his courage.
He knew more than anybody about every facet of that set.
No, it's not shutting the door yet.
Not shutting this door.
And it's not working. Should I go and shut the door and see what happens?
Probably.
Because I can hear the lawnmowers outside.
I think this.
Can you hear the lawnmowers outside? Has it affected the sound at all?
She can't hear us at all.
It sounds okay still?
Yeah, I can hear you. I didn't hear the garage door at all.
Or can't hear the there's like a it would bother any sound department.
Yes. Oh, big time. We'd be holding for sound.
Yeah, we would be holding for sound. That's why you got 2 actors here. They're like, should we
wait for the plane to clear?
Super fucked up that opened. That's never happened to me in the 4 years that I've lived here.
How?
A ghost.
I mean, I haven't lived in Texas long. I've been here 4 years. But here in Austin,
I think I must have sat on a remote.
No,
that's not normal.
No, that's not normal. That's really not normal.
Luckily.
Oh, Jesus, Jensen. We just had a haunting.
Luckily, I've got a little experience with ghosts.
Yeah, clearly. Because you brought one to my fucking house.
Well, it's probably a cursed object.
I don't have ghosts in my life. Well, I mean, I have an ex-wife. And I have probably some very unhappy people that
I'm going to go shut it.
Okay. It's the first button next to the door.
Okay.
And talk nice to your ghost.
Hey, can you just give us like 30?
Because, we want to talk about... Okay. I mean, dude, how is that opening in the middle of nothing? What if that happened in the middle of the night and I'm in my bedroom and I look out and it's like, oh gosh, welcome to Austin.
That is the quietest garage door ever.
Okay. All right.
That's crazy.
Interesting.
What
Okay,
kind of garage do
so
you have? I
here's-
need to upgrade.
Here's the thing.
Okay.
We're shooting, it's a night scene. We're all coming out and we're dressed as the military people in our black outfits. And we're all coming out with guns and we have to get into a bus. And in the story, we all load into the bus and I don't know what the hell's happening.
Yep.
But it's the end of Dark Angel. Were you, first of all, I remember saying to you, I think it was 3:30 in the morning. We were doing PlayStation in one of our trailers.
Run to the trailer. Yep. That makes sense.
with Kevin and everybody. We were all like in there. But there was this moment where we're like, okay, it's 2002.
Mhm.
It's whatever it was, April 2002.
Yep.
James Cameron is outside with a bullhorn or whatever, screaming at 300 extras, background artist. And he's just pulled Mike Wrench off of a camera crane.
Mhm. So give it to me.
So that, yeah. And I mean, the things, and we all had that moment of we're in a James Cameron thing.
Mhm.
And it's either going to be the most important thing that ever happens in our careers, like the highlight of a career where we might work for another 30 or 40 years, but we'll never reach the high heights of James Cameron's Dark Angel season finale, season 2.
Right.
Try finding it. Try finding it anywhere. I challenge you, find Dark Angel season finale, season 2. On the interweb.
Is it even available on
I don't think you can buy it on the black web. I don't think you can go to QAnon and find that thing.
Is it just gone?
I think if you went to Thailand into the darkest recesses of Bangkok, where you can get anything.
I mean, I know the DVDs exist because I still am asked to sign them from time to time.
I bet. Yeah. Well,
but I have.
I think that would be a black market. What do you think a DVD of Dark Angel season 2 goes for now?
Look online. We'll have to
either 99 cents.
Super that in right here.
No. Hi, this is Michael Weatherly. Actually, hold on one second. Let me see if I've got them. I might have something over here. Let me see if I've got. Or are these NCISs? I know I have some.
It's 1 Dark Angel and 30 NCIS.
Yeah, these are all NCIS. You must have like stacks and stacks of like supernaturals.
Yeah, because every year they would send you a few.
So what's the time frame from working with the most profitable filmmaker? I mean, the biggest filmmaker. I mean, you got your Spielberg and you got your Hitchcock, and I understand there's a lot of other filmmakers that have had a huge impact on the medium and whether it's Jean-Luc Godard or wherever you. James Cameron, right? He's a bananas guy. So we kind of did the thing that nobody remembers he did. It's kind of like you worked with the Beatles.
Well, he was still trying. Did he?
But there's like you can't find a single.
How many?
It's like no, I did a song with Paul McCartney and John and Ringo and George.
It doesn't. Yeah, but it's gone.
But you can't find
how many. Because the last thing he did was Titanic.
Yeah,
and he was telling Titanic stories on the set.
Yeah,
like
I met him in 1999.
Yeah,
and he was king of the world in 98.
So he came up to me one time. We were doing that big, like, remember it was like it was at the old that building that the dilapidated and there was
Terminal City.
No, not that one. This one was the
Lionsgate Studios.
No, no, it's like the old Woodward building or something like that.
Oh yeah.
Anyway, it's downtown, and
oh yeah,
there was a whole bunch of background, and there was the whole cast was there, and Jim comes up and I'm doing something with my costume and probably putting blood on her. I don't know. And he's just kind of sitting there, and he very rarely took a moment to, not be doing something.
Oh yeah.
And he just walked up and just walked right up next to me, and he was like, "See this, Jensen? We've got 50 background actors, 10 principal actors in this one scene. I'm like, yeah, I mean, it was a lot. Like,
Yeah,
there's
a
a lot
lot.
going on. He's like, Titanic, we had 50 principals and 2,000 extras. And I was like, whoa. And then he just walked away.
That's like when you pull out your wallet and you've got like $200 and a 50, and you're like, wow, $250. And then Elon Musk is like, I
And he
don't,
rolls up in
I
his
just-
he rolls up in his 8X.
it's like,
His 8X jet.
yeah, he's like, I have so much money, I don't need money.
I don't need money.
Like, I actually don't have.
I'm-
Elon Musk probably doesn't even have money. He says, can I have that? And people are like, no, take whatever it is you want. It's your planet. You own the planet, or you have SpaceX. You own space.
That's it. Yeah.
So
from that experience with James Cameron,
do we ever see any more Dark Angel in
No.
our lives?
No.
Do you think that they're ever going to do anything with it?
that was it. I don't think so. I think they had the opportunity.
Isn't there maybe a lawsuit about there was some kind of like anime or like Japanese comics that they stole it from or something?
I don't know.
I don't know either.
No.
But there's got to be a reason. Because you can watch my fucking so-called life. You can watch any
Shelved it. Well, remember they did what replaced us? Firefly. Firefly
Oh,
did
yeah,
13 episodes. Yeah.
Yeah.
And they ended up making a movie. And that's still talked about. There's Firefly conventions.
I mean, come
13
on.
episodes.
So Richard Gunn. Remember Richard Gunn? Hilarious.
JC McKenzie.
Sketchy. Well, so JC did NCIS and did Bull.
No, really?
I got to work with him again, and I watched the Super Bowl with him in 2018. And his son. I love JC. Normal, Reagan, normal.
Yep.
And then Allie Mee Ballard,
Yep.
Herbal Thought.
Yeah.
And I mean, the original Cindy Valerie.
Oh yeah. Yeah. No, it was a good cast.
It was a really great cast.
It was a fun
And
show. I had a good time.
you finish Dark Angel, you go into a couple of auditions. Supernatural starts 2000.
I went and
Five.
did a little show called Dawson's Creek after Dark Angel. Did a season on that. And I was just kind of hopping around. No. Was it Dawson's Creek? No, I ended up doing a show for Fox called Still Life that never saw the light of day. Did like 7 episodes. Got shelved. Then I think I went on and did Dawson's. And then I got called in for Smallville.
Oh, that's what I was.
Season 4 of Smallville. And they brought me in for that season 4. And while I was shooting, I signed a 2-year deal with them. While I was shooting in year 1, Supernatural came about, and it was a same network. So they were like, "Hey, we want to pull him and test him for the show." So it was very in-house. I mean, I did have to audition, but it was the test. I don't know if I ever told you the test. You know, the screen test is like the last. That's like the last thing. The network studio screen test, and it was at the Warner Brothers. What is it? Not the main Warner Ranch.
Oh yeah.
No, Warner. Yeah,
Right.
across
So-
the way there. Anyway, go there.
Burbank.
Yeah. And
Television City. No, that's in.
so I go there and it's supposed to be, I'm like, okay, well, this is going to be me and, 4 or 5 other guys that I probably have known for years reading for this role. And I walk in and it's just this like disheveled kid that I've never seen before with his hoodie up. And I'm like, whatever, I sign in, I see the name above it. It says Jared Padalecki. And I'm like, Jared Pada, not even gonna try. And and so I turn around, I'm like, hey, I'm like, who are you reading for? He's like, I'm reading for Sam. And I'm like, well, I'm reading for Dean. Where's the rest of them? They didn't bring anybody else in.
Wow.
They just had us go in there and read together. And then they gave us the job in the room,
Wow.
which is very unorthodox.
Very unusual indeed.
And that was 2005. And that was the start of it.
And you have to understand too, for the people that don't, when you have gotten to the point where you're screen testing, you've already negotiated your deal.
You've already signed your
You've
deal.
already signed your life away.
A 6 deal, I think was
And
pretty
if they
common.
decide to make it in South Africa, you're moving to South Africa.
Yep.
If they decide to make it on the moon base,
Yep.
Alpha,
Yep.
or on the International Space Station, yeah, here's your oxygen tank.
Yep.
You're moving to the ISS.
You get a
Here's $5,000.
It's a $5,000 relocation fee.
$5,000, which initially, sounds like a lot of money, $5,000, until you realize you have to pay taxes on it. And
You have to move all your stuff. You have to get out of your lease.
You have to get out of your
sign
lease.
a new lease.
You have to sign a new lease. You have to move everything, put other things into storage. And then you're like, okay, so that is more than $5,000 at this point.
It's like 20.
Well, it is. You've made good. You've done good. I don't know if anyone's told you, but it worked out for you. You've
Thanks,
been very
Weatherly.
successful.
I appreciate it.
And I know that you've talked about the supernatural experience more than anything. What I wanted to do was get in that Wayback Machine and talk about the noir angel, because that was a time. But also, when you're an actor or a performer who comes in through the minor leagues, which is kind of the way, if you were to follow the baseball thing we talked about in the beginning, you go through the Grapefruit League, which is grapefruit because it's in Florida, right? And you figure out, you play a lot of positions. You played in college, maybe you got this, but you're finding where you fit.
Yep.
And then you're looking at the big show. And are you going to get to go and play in the show?
Can you take what you've learned and take what you're confident in and apply that and get to the big dance?
And then will you have the luck of the opportunity to be on the team that needs the third baseman because Craig Nettles is not feeling well, or Butch Hobson, or whoever it is, and you've got this moment where you can step in? And then is it your day where it's a lefty pitcher and this is the guy you can smack?
No, it's a star aligning situation.
Right. And you and I have had similar long runs on, network drama series where we both got to work with James Cameron, waiting for that fucking garage door to open. Jesus. Scariest thing.
That was crazy.
That was crazy.
Yeah.
This is the haunting.
Yeah.
We had a haunted interview.
It was supernatural.
Look what he did. Look what he did.
Right there. It's always right there.
Well, I think we covered a lot of ground. This is the first of our 13-part interview series with each other.
Oh, good. Great.
Each one will be 2 hours long. So it's what's going to be fun for the people is
there'll be a check for those of you that make it to 13.
24 straight hours. You can watch it in a row. Just take some amphetamines.
But you can only find it on the tail end of the season 2 finale of Dark Angel,
with a commentary. Yeah, the DVD commentary for. Oh yeah, hopefully we
should do the DVD commentary of that if we could find it, and then put it back out there.
I've got an idea, and I'm just spitballing right now, but I think that what if we get a black box theater in New York, small,
okay,
and we take the script of the Dark
Angel, we do a live reading.
I think maybe we do a performance. We do the black, where everyone's dressed in black, and there's no props and there's no set.
Yeah.
It's just a black box creative performance where we just do the dialogue.
And we just invite Jim Cameron.
He's our audience.
He's the only person in the audience.
Yeah. He would kill us.
Yeah, he would. He would murder us.
No, he would have us killed way before that happened, because he had my garage door open.
That's it.
All right. Well, I think we did it. And, look, yeah, I'm going to bring this back. I don't know if everyone can see. This is the Texan style craziness that we have here. It's incorrect. It's not how you're supposed to do it. But
here we are.
But we did it.
We did it.
All right, man.
Thanks for having me.
We'll do it again.